Welcome, readers. Before we get going today, I want everybody to do a really quick tab check, okay? So make sure that you've opened up Google Classroom and that you have accessed the Jamboard that's shared in there for today. It should be Minerals Reading Lesson. Also, make sure that you've accessed your Seesaw account. We have some assignments in there that we're going to talk about a little bit later. So again, make sure you have that Minerals Jamboard open, Seesaw open, and Google Classroom. All right, when you've done that, can you just go ahead and give me a quick thumbs up down in our reactions at the bottom? Oh, nice. Thanks, guys. Okay, before we get to learning, let's just take a quick second to do a check and connect. So inside that Jamboard, I would like you to go ahead and just share one thing that's happened today. So just share one thing that's happened today. And you can see I've added mine. Today, I am spending some time shoveling snow. As you know, we have a lot of snow here, so we're getting some shoveling done. So students, be sure that you take a second and add one thing happening today, and then go ahead and post a reaction to one other peer with maybe something that you can connect with regarding what they have happening today. All right, another quick second for that. Okay, good job, guys. All righty. Now I want you to check that you have all of the materials we need for today's reading lesson. You're going to need your expo, highlighter, pencil, a whiteboard, and then your parents should have printed off paper copies of the reading that we're going to be working on today. It's important that we practice our writing and our highlighting on those paper copies. Now, some of your families have let me know that they can't get those printed, which is fine. You have a digital link too, but have those paper copies ready if you're able. All right. Our goal today for our reading, let's take a look-see at our lesson plan. Let's see here. Okay. As you can see, we're going to be using text evidence to ask and answer questions in expository text. We just did that quick welcome with our Jamboard, our check and our connect. In a minute here, we're going to start looking at that minerals text that you either have your digital or printed copies, and of course those tools that I asked you to bring with you. After that, we're going to break out into our small groups. Be sure that you're going with your reading group and with that color that's on your reading chart so that you're in the correct room. I'll be visiting all your rooms while you're working with your group. And then at the end of our lesson today, we're just going to quickly review rocks. That's what you'll be reading with your small group. You will have an exit ticket that's inside of Google Classroom. That's why that tab should be open. And then we're going to talk about your homework expectations. And today, group 4, you're going to stay and read with me. We're going to talk about the text as a team. Okay. All righty. Our learning objectives. What are we trying to learn today? Our goal, and we've been working on this for the past couple of weeks, but our goal is to be able to use text evidence to ask and answer questions. Another goal for our learning today is to be able to write complete sentences. Come on, guys, we're using those becauses. We can collaborate with our peers. So when you're in your small group, it's really important that you're talking and making connections with the text and with each other. And then lastly, we can identify expository text. Remember, we talked about expository means information, right? So we're going to just be sure we really remember what expository text is. Okay, could I get you guys to go ahead and get your minerals practice page? You should also have the text evidence questions, okay? You should have both of these pages, and remember, you also have that digital link. All right, in our Jamboard, you have the digital copy of our text. Give it just a second here. Okay. All right. Here is that digital copy. And of course, these are our expository text evidence questions. I would like you to keep this paper off to the side. We're going to go ahead and read minerals all together. So for right now, I want you to mute your mics, but I would like you to be reading while I'm reading. You can choose to read with me. You can choose to read ahead if you'd like. If you finish before I do, you need to go in and reread. All right. So we're going to go ahead and read our passage minerals. Now remember, your mic goes off, but you are reading with me. All right, here we go. Minerals are lots of fun to learn about. Minerals are a solid, but never been alive, and were formed in nature. There are about 3,000 known minerals on Earth, but only 30 minerals are commonly found on the Earth's crust. We identify or name minerals by their properties. One property that we look at is how hard a mineral is. We use a scratch test to measure a mineral's hardness. The Mohs scale of hardness measures the ability of minerals to scratch each other. The hardest mineral is a diamond. The softest mineral is talc. We also use a streak test to help name minerals. In a streak test, we rub a mineral on an unglazed white tile and see what color streak it leaves behind. Other properties are color and luster. Luster is the reflection of light from a mineral. Minerals with a lot of luster look shiny. Sometimes minerals are the same color. That's why we often cannot use color to identify minerals. We use minerals every day. Whenever you pick up a glass or put salt in your food, you're using a mineral. The mineral graphite is used as lead in pencils. Your body needs minerals such as calcium and iron. You get these minerals from the foods you eat. Other minerals are used to make jewelry and iron. All right, go ahead and unmute your mic so that we can have a little discussion here. Very quickly, just to kind of check in and see where you're at, in your comment box up to the side here, I want you to enter a message. What makes this text expository? Okay, just type a quick response. What makes this text expository? All right. Good job. Good job. Yes, remember, expository means giving us information. We can tell this is expository because it's giving us information about minerals. All right, one more very quick review here. Can you go ahead and in that comment box there, the chat box, can you tell me one text feature that you see here on our minerals passage? Just one text feature that you see on our minerals passage. Go ahead and enter that into that comment box. All right. And would anybody like to share out on those two questions? What makes it expository? And what's a text feature that we see? Anyone would like to share out? All right. Thanks, guys. Okay, let's get into our practice over here. We read through this whole text, which is the first thing that you do. You always read all the text. And then we're going to start looking at answering our questions using text evidence. That's where we go back into the text to justify our answers. So if you have that printed copy, be sure you have your highlighter out, okay, and your pencil. We're going to be using both of these tools. All right, our first question here about how many minerals are commonly found on the Earth's crust. Well, if I look at that sentence, I can see right away I have some buzzwords. Earth's crust is probably something I'm going to want to look in the text for. So I'm going to go back over here to my text and see. I want you guys to see for me if you can't find where we could see the answer to that question in our text. Look in the text, see if you can find it. How many minerals are found on Earth's crust? Well, here's that word Earth's crust, if you can see right there. Yeah, and we can see it says about 30 minerals are commonly found. All right, well, let's get out our highlighting tool. And we're going to go ahead and highlight where we see the answer to that question. So about how many minerals? Well, about 30 minerals are commonly found on Earth's crust. So that's my text evidence. So on your paper copy, if you have that, you should have highlighted 30 minerals are commonly found on Earth's crust, right? Okay, and then we need to go in and type our response if you're using digital, or write our response over here on our practice page. So we've talked about this when we write our complete sentences, we borrow part of the question to help us answer the question. And sometimes we have to remember we got to use that because. All right, so first let's see, what are we going to borrow? About how many minerals are commonly found? Well, I'm going to look at borrowing this chunk right here. About, what did we see in the text again? Can someone share out with me? What was it that we saw in the text about how many? Yeah, about 30 minerals are found on the crust. All right, now we've talked a little bit too with the if you are using digital and it takes you a second with the typing, that's okay. And remember, we don't really need to worry about spelling right now. We're focused more on making sure we can use our text evidence. Remember, that's our I can for the day, using text evidence to ask and answer questions. All right, you need to be recording that on here. If you recall, you will have assignments over here in Seesaw. And let's see, I can show that to you quick. Okay. All right, over here in that Seesaw tab, this is what we're working on right now, our whole group. This is going to be your small group work and, of course, your independent work. You will need to take a picture of your completed reading response or a screenshot of the one that you did in Jamboard and share it into Seesaw at the conclusion of today's lesson. All right, let's head back to our text. Okay. All right, so we got our first question done. Let's look at the second one there. It says, how do we test a mineral's hardness? Can I get somebody to share out with me how we would test a mineral's hardness? Go in the text and see if you can find that for me, and then share out. If you are one of my friends and you find it a little bit sooner, if you want to record your response on your whiteboard and hold it up, you can. Or if you want to use that chat feature, you can go ahead and enter your response in there while we wait on our team member here sharing out their answer. Okay, so let's find that. And remember, we have to highlight our text evidence. So how do we test a mineral's hardness? Well, we need to look for, look right here. One property we look at is how hard a mineral is. Can you guys see that right there? Yeah. We use a scratch test to measure a mineral's hardness. Ooh, let's highlight that. Our question says, how do we test a mineral's hardness? The text tells us we use a scratch method, right? So this is our text evidence. And then we need to go ahead and get our response written over here, or of course, on your paper copy. Remember, either way, you're screenshotting or taking a photo of this response work that we're doing together to upload into Seesaw, right? To make sure that we're all learning together. All right, so let's use that full sentence, right? Remember, that's one of our I cans today. We can test a mineral's hardness. What did the text tell us again? Oh, yes, by using a scratch test. Okay. And remember, we're not too worried about our spelling. We just want to be sure we're getting good, complete sentences. All right. And then if you have that paper copy, be sure you're recording your answers there. All right, let's take a look-see at our next question. Describe minerals with a lot of luster. Oh boy, that word luster is kind of tricky. Can I get you to go ahead and in our comments, can you enter what the definition of luster is? What does luster mean? I think the text gave us a pretty good clue as to the definition for that. So go ahead and enter, what does luster mean for me? Can you enter that into the chat? Oh yeah, good job. Good job. Who would like to share out what luster is? Yeah, it's the shininess, right? The shininess of a mineral. So let's see. Describe minerals with a lot of luster. Well, luster is the reflection of light from minerals, so how it's shiny. Minerals with a lot of luster look shiny. Can you guys think of something that's really shiny and a mineral? What does the text tell us? Well, we can see in our text feature here that this mineral has a lot of luster, right? It's very shiny. All right, so I want you to record. You can choose any of these here that have a lot of luster. All right, I'm gonna highlight in the text right here. Oopsies, there we go. All right, luster. Okay. And go ahead and take a second to type your response or write it down. A mineral, those good complete sentences with a lot of luster is, I'm going to choose diamond because I also know that that's very shiny, and the text tells me it's a mineral. It's very shiny, so it has a lot of luster. If you chose one of these other minerals, you use this little text feature here and found a mineral that shows a high degree of luster, go ahead and add that. And I would like you to share what you chose in our comment box. If you would like to share out loud, just go ahead and use that raise your hand feature at the bottom of your screen too, so we can see what some other ideas were on minerals with a lot of luster. All right, on to our last question here. Go back to our highlighting tool. The last question says, how are some minerals used? Ooh, I would say the buzzword on that is definitely used. Okay, so I'm going to look for the word used in here. Well, here's the word used. Here's the word using. Ooh, here's another word used. So we have a lot of choices, right? A lot of choices. I want you just to pick one of those choices, okay, one of those choices for your response. So come over here and be sure you're using those full sentences, right? We want to borrow part of the question to answer in a complete sentence. So we're going to say some minerals are used. I'm going to pick the one that says used as lead in pencils because I like that, and it's really easy for me to record as lead in pencils. All right. Go ahead and enter your response into the chat box, or if you'd like to share out loud, raise your hand and we'll hear what you have to say. Some minerals used as lead in pencils. You might have chosen maybe they're used to make jewelry, or maybe some minerals are used in the foods we eat, right? Those are all great choices. All right, let's just review really quickly here. Under our first question, we can see that we wrote a complete sentence. We borrowed part of our question. We have our text evidence over here that we highlighted. Under our second question here, we can see we wrote a full sentence. We used our text evidence to back up what we wrote down. Here again, we did a great job, full sentences. We used our text evidence, and I hope some of you use that text feature down here. And our last one here, again, a good full sentence, and we have text evidence. We had a few different places that we could choose, right? A few places we could choose. Would someone like to share out with us what the main idea of this passage was? Can you share out what the main idea of the passage was? If you'd rather write it on your whiteboard, you can do that. Or if you want to share it in the comment box, you can do that. Or if you'd like to share aloud with us, I would love to hear what you have to say. All right, please remember that you need to either screenshot your Jamboard if you don't have your paper copy, or you need to take a photo of your paper completed copy. And those are going to be uploaded into Seesaw for our whole group. Let's take a quick peek at that so you know what your expectation is. All righty. All right, and it is this guy right here, right? And this is where inside you are going to want to upload your photo of your completed response, okay? Your completed response. And then in a minute here, when you head to your breakout rooms, you're going to need this Seesaw assignment, which you'll be recording with your team. You're going to use Flipgrid for that part of your assignment so that I can hear everybody's great conversations about the text, finding your text evidence, writing those complete sentences. I want to be sure that you're working, collaborating, right, with your group very, very well, right? We want lots of speaking, sharing, and listening, okay? So you're going to be recording that with Flipgrid. We've talked about how to do that, and we've practiced it a lot. You're going to need to upload that information into Seesaw, okay? And then when we get ready to do our homework down here, you'll need this third option in Seesaw. All right, let's go ahead and head back whole group to have a quick discussion before I send you off to small group work. All right. Very quickly, I want to see what we remember from our little passage of text today. So in the chat box or using your whiteboard, it's totally up to you. I want you to enter two separate things. First question I have for you, what is expository text? I hope we remember, we've talked about it a lot. So either in chat or on your whiteboard, write down what's expository text. How do we know when a piece of text is expository? All righty. Okay, and then returning into your minerals reading passage, I want you to answer another question for me. What is the softest mineral known? Okay, so you're gonna have to get really quickly, go back into your text, and in a full sentence like we've been talking about, I want you to record your response. What is the softest mineral? I'd hope you'd start by saying the softest mineral is, and then use your text evidence. Okay, use your text evidence. Would someone like to share with us which paragraph you found that text evidence in for our last question here? I see lots of good responses. All right, thank you guys. Okay. Well, I want you to go ahead and head over to your breakout rooms. You'll need the printed copy of rocks. That's what you're going to be working on with your team. Okay. You'll need your Seesaw tab open. And then inside Seesaw, be sure that you guys pick your jobs at whoever's going to be your recorder for Flipgrid, who's your technician for being sure you upload it into Seesaw, who's your group leader, and then who are going to be your additional teammates. Okay, be sure that you enter all that information, get your Flipgrid up and running, and I will be visiting you in your breakout rooms shortly. At the end of today, for your homework, I want you to be sure that you complete the reading response that's under independent work in Seesaw. And then you have an option to do Nearpod groups 1 and 2. You have the option to do the Nearpod assignment in classroom. Groups 3 and 4, you'll have to complete that Nearpod assignment on asking and answering questions with text evidence, and you access that inside of classroom. Group 4, you'll be working with me at the end of today. We're going to do a little bit of practice time on finding our text evidence. All right, I will see you guys soon in your breakout rooms.